I don't really know the answer to that question.
And
so-
let me be honest. I was on the phone with Kathy today, and I said to her, I really don't like this fear tactic kind of thing, okay? But I think
It's Trouton-esque.
it's Trouton-esque.
That is a decorum on
Well-
Mr. Venezia.
Right, but I think we should at least put them out
Okay,
there.
I was just, yeah.
We're not saying any of these are going to happen. We were asked to say, where would we attack this if we had to?
All right.
All right?
Yep.
So Carl, go ahead.
Well, I know that the administration shares the views that you have, because these are uncomfortable discussions. But continuing on, so we would look to make programs self-supporting. If you're going to discuss athletics, you will in the same breath probably discuss extracurricular activities as well. That wouldn't raise as much money, but it would be the philosophical approach that we would take. We would also, I think, in order to look holistically across the district, we would look at administrative services. I don't, it's premature to know exactly what we would do, but we would feel if we were going to be reducing educational program, we would have to look administratively as well to find some kind of savings. We looked at the elimination of small capital, which in effect would be the elimination of new textbook adoptions. That's has a placeholder of on or about $86,000 in the budget presently. We would dig deeper probably to reduce school expense budgets by another 5%. That would bring us back into the 90s in terms of what their budgets would
great decade.
be. We would also, again, continuing on the theme of looking everywhere, we would look at the paraprofessional area, and where we could, we would probably have to consider reductions in the area of the support services for the library and the computer lab, and or general classroom support. And I think the committee knows that whenever we're talking about personnel, not only is it a difficult subject to discuss, but once you put your accountant's hat on and you start to reduce positions, you don't get the bang for the buck that you'd like to get because of the unemployment costs.
Right.
We're self-funding, the town of North Reading is a self-funding entity vis-a-vis unemployment, which means that we are responsible for absorbing 100% of the unemployment cost of anybody that we lay off. So the downside of that is that you think you're saving $100,000, yet you're really only saving less than half of that because of the first year costs. So it ends up accelerating the problem, really. We also realized that we would look at custodial areas to see if we could extract savings there. We brought up that age-old idea of considering a high school parking fee. And again, these aren't popular ideas, but I think that the exercise here was to see what we would do if we had $1 million to save, and we would be digging that deeply and making decisions of that nature. Lastly, we would look at our our mentor program and think of ways to save money there. Presently, new teachers are assisted by experienced teachers in a mentoring arrangement. So that's kind of the flavor of some of the discussions that we decided.
But to Jerry's point, that $2.4 million figure, which one of the groups is putting out there, no on 3, and I will say up front, I'm voting no on 3 unequivocally. That figure is completely inaccurate because they take all of the money that goes, all of the state aid that goes to the Northeast Voc and Essex Aggie, and they attribute that money to North Reading also.
Ridiculous.
The MMA, Mass Municipal Association, has a number that if there were state aid cuts, the schools would lose about $785,000. But the bottom line is, one, we haven't voted on it, and two, if it did pass, as Karen said, what would the legislature do?
No.
And three, they might
Three,
not
it's
cut.
We're halfway through the fiscal year, so
Right.
if you have to, if
They
you
might not
lose-
cut state aid. So all of that said, I'm voting no, but I think, you know, you just when we talk about cuts, we're just giving you an idea of what we might have to do. And we've done it before. We're not making threats saying this is going to happen. This is just the only place we can go. I did want to make a few more comments on this, though. It is interesting being a no vote on this ballot question, and I don't know, they're portrayed as a nonpartisan, independent group. It's the Mass Budget and Policy Center. Despite the fact that our sales tax was increased to 6.25%, Massachusetts ranks 41st out of 46 states in the country that impose sales taxes in terms of the percent of personal income that goes to sales tax. So, 41st out of 46 is pretty good. We're near the bottom in the percentage that we take. The other thing is we constantly hear about Taxachusetts, and based on the latest federal numbers, which are from 2008, Massachusetts ranks 32nd out of 50 states in terms of percentage of personal income that goes to state and local taxes. Now, I would add that if you're a parent of a student in North Reading, you're paying a lot more than that, because you pay a lot of fees that don't go to taxes, and you're paying a water bill that don't go into taxes.
Trash bill.
And you're paying a trash bill that isn't covered by taxes. And I'm not a guy sitting here saying we need more taxes, but I think the point is that taxes are probably pretty fair in North Reading, but in North Reading and in Massachusetts, but they do get you in there's a lot of other gotchas that you end up paying.
No comment.
So any other comments on question 3? I think we made our feelings known last meeting. Great. Thanks, Kathy and Carl. Okay, next. We have a first reading of our revised bullying policy, and before we read it, I want to thank our subcommittee, policy subcommittee, Michael and Cliff, for all the work put into this. I want to thank Karen for participating in PAWS, which I believe is the committee we've established, and Kathy also, to deal with the new state law, anti-bullying law. We have a really lengthy first reading of the policy, which is 4 pages. As the chairman, it's usually my responsibility to read it, and I like reading aloud.
I know you do.
So if the committee doesn't mind, I'll read it. This is policy GAAC, and then in parens CF.JCAE. And it goes into the personnel category. I'll explain that for all new policies, we have a first reading. Any changes that need to be made, we make, and then we have a second reading, and then the policy is put up to vote. Policy is simply called bullying. The North Reading School Committee prohibits any act of bullying or retaliation for reporting bullying behaviors. Now, before I go to the next sentence, I'm going to recommend that we delete the words the committee believes that, and just start with a safe and civil environment in school is necessary for students to learn and achieve high academic standards. I don't think that's a belief. I think that's...
The committee is a collective of people that change over time.
Right.
So the beliefs of that committee may change.
Right. So I think we should say that, we should make that a statement that a safe and civil environment in school is necessary for students to learn and achieve high academic standards. Bullying, like other disruptive or violent behaviors, is conduct that disrupts both the student's ability to learn and a school's ability to educate its students in a safe environment. Demonstration of appropriate behavior, treating others with civility and respect, and refusing to tolerate harassment or bullying are expected of administrators, faculty, staff, and volunteers to provide positive examples for student behavior. The school committee directs the superintendent and/or his/her designee to develop administrative guidelines and procedures for the implementation of this policy. The guidelines and/or procedures will address prevention and education efforts, expectations of student and staff conduct, school responses, there should be a comma after responses, including disciplinary action to bullying incidents, and procedures for reporting and addressing complaints of bullying. A, definitions. A hostile environment is a situation in which bullying causes a school environment to be permeated with intimidation, ridicule, or insult that is sufficiently severe or pervasive to alter the conditions of the student's education. Bullying is defined as the repeated use by one or more students of a written, verbal, or electronic expression or physical act or gesture, or any combination thereof, directed at a target that 1. Causes physical or emotional harm to the target and damage to the target's property. 2. Places the target in reasonable fear of harm to himself, I think we should have /herself, or of damage to his/her property. 3, creates a hostile environment at school for the target. 4, infringes on the rights of the target at school. Or 5, materially and substantially disrupts the education process or the orderly operation of a school. Bullying may include conduct such as physical intimidation or assault, including intimidating an individual into taking an action against his/her will. Oral, I would change that to verbal. Verbal or written threats, if everybody agrees. No?
Keep it for now, because you're reading it, remember?
Oh,
We
I
can
see what you're
talk
saying.
about it
Okay.
later.
Oral or written threats, teasing, put-downs, name-calling, stalking, threatening looks, gestures, or actions, cruel rumors, false accusations, and social isolation. Cyberbullying is bullying through the use of technology or any electronic communication, which shall include but not be limited to any transfer of signs, signals, writing, images, sounds, data, or intelligence of any nature transmitted in whole or part by a wire, radio, electromagnetic, photoelectronic, or photo-optical system, including but not limited to electronic mail, internet communications, instant messages, or facsimile communications. Cyberbullying shall also include 1, the creation of a web page or blog in which the creator assumes the identity of another person, or 2, the knowing impersonation of another person as the author of posted content or messages if the creation or impersonation creates any of the conditions enumerated above in clauses 1 to 5, inclusive of the definition of bullying. Cyberbullying shall also include the distribution by electronic means of a communication to more than one person or the posting of material on an electronic medium that may be accessed by one or more persons if the distribution or posting creates any of the conditions enumerated above in clauses 1 to 5, inclusive of the definition bullying. Cyberbullying may include conduct such as sending derogatory, harassing, or threatening email messages, instant messages, or text messages, creating websites that ridicule, humiliate, or intimidate others, and posting on websites or disseminating embarrassing or inappropriate pictures, audio recordings, or images of others. Retaliation is any form of intimidation, reprisal, or harassment against a person who reports bullying, provides information during an investigation of bullying, or witnesses or has reliable information about bullying. B, where bullying is prohibited. Bullying, including cyberbullying, is prohibited on school grounds, properly immediately next to school grounds, at a school-sponsored or school-related activity, function, or program, whether on or off school grounds, at a school bus stop, on a school bus or other vehicle owned, leased, or used by the school district, or through the use of technology or an electronic device owned, leased, or used by the school district, and 2, at a location, activity, function, or program that is not school-related, or through the use of technology or electronic device that is not owned, leased, or used by the school district if the bullying creates a hostile environment at school for the target, infringes on the rights of the target at school, or materially and substantially disrupts the education process, the health or well-being of the target during school hours, or the orderly operation of the school. C, bullying and retaliation are prohibited and will lead to discipline. North Reading School absolutely prohibits bullying and retaliation as defined in Section A. Students who engage in bullying or retaliation will be subject to disciplinary action. However, disciplinary action taken must balance the need for accountability with the need to teach appropriate behavior conducive to a non-hostile environment in the school district. The range of disciplinary action includes, but is not limited to, one or more of the following: verbal warnings, written warnings, reprimands, detentions, short-term or long-term suspensions, or expulsions from the school as determined by the school administration and/or school committee, subject to applicable procedural requirements. Nothing in this policy is intended to prevent the school administration and/or school committee from taking disciplinary action against a student for conduct that does not meet the definition of bullying as defined above, but nevertheless is inappropriate for the school environment. D, reporting obligations. Staff, faculty, and students are obligated to report bullying to the school principal or his or her designee, specifically 1, school staff, including but not limited to an educator, administrator, school nurse, cafeteria worker, custodian, bus driver, athletic coach, advisor to an extracurricular activity, or paraprofessional, shall immediately report any instance of bullying or retaliation he or she has witnessed, become aware of to the school principal or his or her designee. 2, the district expects students and parents, guardians, who witness or become aware of any instance of bullying or retaliation involving a student to report it to the school principal or his or her designee. An individual may make an anonymous report of bullying or retaliation. However, no disciplinary action may be taken against a student solely on the basis of an anonymous report. A student who knowingly makes a false accusation of bullying or retaliation shall be subject to disciplinary action. 3, in the event that bullying or retaliation is substantiated, the school principal or his or her designee will notify the local law enforcement agency if he or she believes that criminal charges may be pursued against the aggressor. In addition, if an incident of bullying or retaliation occurs on school grounds and involves a former student under the age of 21 who is no longer enrolled in a local school district, charter school, non-public day school, approved